So welcome back to Outdoors with the Morgans. Looky here. Last year, we had a mast year of acorns, but I'm starting to see a bunch already this year. I don't think we'll have as many as we did last time, but I've seen a bunch of them. But anyway, another day out here at Woodyard 2.0. I've had this fire going now for 3 or 4 days. I just come out here every once in a while, put another tree or two on it, and if you do that morning, afternoon, I just keep her burning and making things go away. It's a beautiful day today, kind of warm though, getting close to 90 degrees. I think over the next week or two it's going to start cooling down some, so that'd be pretty nice. But anyway, Melissa needs to run out for a little bit, so I'm going to hang out with the hunt man. We may go out somewhere as well, and I will report back in a bit. All right, I am back out here at Woodyard 2.0. This one here is going to be a bit of a pain. I got 2 maples, small ones, but they're growing right beside a big gnarly looking cherry. And this is all kind of right in the middle of the road, where the road's gonna go. So right now I'm just knocking a few limbs off here so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which way to push that maple. Can't push it the way that I'm doing because it goes right into the cherry. We'll figure it out. It'll just take some time. But I tell you, it is a beautiful day right now. It's feeling like fall quite a bit. It was a very cool morning. Still going to get into the 80s today, but each morning and each evening it seems to get cooler and cooler. Yeah, that one, I don't know. Let's try to take this one down first. Then I think I need to move all the way to the other side to get that other one. Oh man. That's what happens. It gets all jacked up. They're all tangled up with one another. We'll move around the other side here. Holy smokes, that was one stubborn stump right there, and I'm not sure why. I was dug all the way around it. It's just like it was stuck there, but we got her on the ground. That's a big old cherry right there. I want to leave that oak right there on the other side. I think that I can. This maple right here, it's got to come out. But yeah, we're getting there. Making a big mess, but it all will look good when it's done. All right, so we are out here at the future home of the new building at Woodyard 2.0, and we've got Dustin here from Pole Barns Direct.
How are you?
And I just want to pick your brain a little bit on what people should be considering when they're going to be building a building, and things that they may not think of initially that they wish they would have thought of, you know. But first off, how many buildings have you guys built, do you think?
Probably in that 2,000 range.
Around,
we're probably creeping on a couple of thousand up at this point.
Really? Now, how long have you been in business?
I think around 2010 they got started.
2010.
Yep.
So what are some of the things, like the first thing, if someone's wanting a building, like a pole building, an equipment shed, what's the first thing to think about?
I think for us, I think one of the biggest things that we need to start off with is where you live and what township you're in, what zoning department you're in, and what they will let you do.
Okay.
I think the first step in any of that is to find out from the zoning department how big of a building you're allowed to build. You know, so questions to the zoning department like how far I need to be off the property lines, if there's a square footage, a max square footage that I can build, is there a height restriction on how tall the building can be? I think once you have that stuff figured out and you know what you're allowed to build, then you can start focusing a little bit on what size building and what type of building you need.
Right. Have you ever had, what's the one thing no one has ever said to you after building a building?
I think the biggest thing we run into is no one's ever called and said, that building you built is way too big.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And you hear that all the time. And things change and evolve, and no one can plan 10, 15 years down the road, but it's kind of probably a good idea to try to think where you're going to be in 5 years from now or something.
A lot of these buildings a lot of times they're a rectangle, the gable ends. These buildings are designed so that they can be lengthened, you know. So if you got a 30 by 40 and you should have went 30 by 56, we can lengthen the building.
You do that quite often?
We do a good bit of it. The way that the trusses are designed, the gable end trusses are structural trusses, the same as what's in the middle of the building. So if the building needs to be lengthened, we can take the metal off of that gable end, lay it down, remove the post because that truss is structural, and then lengthen the building, pick that metal back up and put it on the end. Yeah. So I guess if you want it a little bit bigger,
so that's not a bad idea. That's good information though. So if you're laying out a building, lay it out, you know, hey, maybe in 5 years or something, I need to make this double in length. Yep. Lay it out accordingly on your property.
It's amazing to me from the time you build a building, even on my building at home, from the time we start a building and what the primary use of that building is.
Change.
And then 15 years down the road, it's never, it just seems like it's crazy. It's never the same.
Yeah.
You know, you never, my building started off a carpentry shop and it finished as a hitting facility for my kids to play baseball and softball.
You got a batting cage in there?
Batting cage in the building. You know, now all my tractors and everything are in the back.
Yeah.
You know? So it does change that way. But I think making sure from the zoning department what you can build, because like here, I'll come out and see you and we work through these designs and we get this figured out and we got a great plan. And then you call the zoning department and find out, oh, well, I'm not allowed to build it that big.
Yeah.
And now all that time we spent isn't really wasted, but now we got to start over to some degree.
Yeah.
You know, so finding out what you can build is number one, and then really trying to focus on what you need. You know, your building height is really going to be centered around how big the garage doors need to be.
Yeah.
If you need a 10-foot tall garage door, you need a 12-foot tall building, you know, and so on. You know?
If you were to make a change in height or height, length, width, what adds the most cost? That's a kind of a tough question. But
I get that question all the time, and it can be a little tricky, because if you take a building, say you take a big building and it's 60 by 120, and you say how much to make that building from 14 foot to 16 foot tall. I got to really be careful, because you may only have a couple $1,000s in making that building 2 foot taller. But it's very unfair for me to say that, because what happens when that building grows from 14 to 16? Usually all of the garage doors get 2 foot taller.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect your concrete floor, but if you're going to finish the inside of the building, now you need 2 foot more insulation all the way around the building.
Yeah.
Your wall finish is 2 foot more all the way around. The other thing that really changes with these finish shops is as the height of these buildings, and you're going to heat the building. We did a 14-foot building, Resinor heater up in the corner, gas heater up in the corner, got it fired up, and we were pretty excited. Now we got heat in the building, and there was a 17-degree temperature difference between the floor and the ceiling.
Really?
So now all of a sudden we got to get a big fan in there to equalize that. You know, so it's hard, you know, it's sometimes the building height, it doesn't, you know, it's not that big of a deal. When you want a building 2 foot taller, I need 2 foot longer posts and 2 foot more metal and 1 row of 2x4s.
Yeah.
I don't need much just to make the building taller.
Right.
But as you make that building taller, it seems like other things grow.
You know, the biggest surprise that I had with the building you built by the house is how energy efficient it is. Now, I don't know if I got lucky. I've got a lot of windows, but we've got that overhang on the front. If you keep that sun from beating inside,
Yep.
that's got to be it. I did blown in insulation in the attic, but you know, like those hottest days we had a couple weeks ago, I have a 36,000 BTU mini split in that building. We were running it maybe at most 2 to 3 hours a day, and I like it cold. It's unbelievably efficient. Way better than what my house is.
Yeah.
I have that radiant floor heat that I have not even used yet. I heat the entire building with a wood stove. I never would have dreamed that. I would have thought it would not be near that efficient. But what is it? Is it the...
Well, you got a couple of things that help you. You know, on the roof, the single bubble vapor barrier is very, very good at solving the condensation problem that you have inside your building. But it also has that reflective value of the foil facing that goes under the metal. So that helps. That helps a good bit. And then the fact that you have the building insulated. You know, these buildings, the nature of how they're constructed with a 6x6 or a 3-ply laminated post, the wall cavity is 6 inches thick.
Yeah.
So new construction today on a house, 2x6 exterior walls, R19 in the walls. Well, the same thing applies to our buildings. 6x6 posts, it's the same, R19 in the walls. I built my house in 2006. I have 2x4 exterior walls. There's R13 in the walls.
Yeah.
I've got better insulation in these buildings than I got in my home.
Yeah.
You know, the blown in, you can put as much as you want in. We typically do an R38. You know, there's also another product that's out now, this Ultra Shield. It's kind of a single bubble on steroids. I think it carries an R7 value with just that alone.
Okay.
So that is an option that we're looking at. People are putting in their stalls and their stable buildings, you know, keeping the animals cooler.
Yeah.
And that, so the buildings are very efficient.
How many, if you may not know the answer to this, but so hobby shop, garage, horse people, what do you think your balance is as far as sales go and building buildings for people? Are you mostly ag buildings or garages? Or
I think we do an awful lot of residential stuff. And that residential may have a mix. It may be residential but it's a garage or a storage building. It could be residential, but they just got a couple animals, or they just bringing their horse home from the stable and stuff like that. But I think with the colors and the design and the new stuff that we have with the metal, the textured metal is really popular now. I think it's very attractive, the residential market. The guy can get his shop that he always wanted behind the house, and mama can pull in the garage or pull in the driveway and see it, and it matches the house and it looks nice, and
yeah,
everybody wins.
Yeah,
you know?
and they're very low maintenance. My building over there with the metal on the sides, the roof, you don't have to do anything. You clean the gutters, and I should put gutter guards on it, but I clean the gutters once a year. That's pretty much the extent of it on that building. Yeah,
they're nice, you know. They're pretty easy to maintain. There's not much to do. You get the site right. You get the site work done right, you get the grade work done, you get the water control done, put gutter on it. We put snow guard on the roof to protect the gutter. Like you said, you can always add the leaf guard, but
yeah,
once you get it set up and it's right, you should be done.
We were talking out here, I got a big mess of trees here right now. This is almost a little too flat for my liking, and what I mean is by the time I strip the topsoil off, I'm gonna have a hole here. It won't be much, but there'll be a little bit of a hole. So I'm gonna import some shale and just build this up. I'll shoot everything with the laser and make sure this whole thing's just sitting up out of the ground just a little bit. And we're gonna put gutters on all this. I'm gonna put a cistern tank at the low end down there, but I want everything to be draining away from it. That's something else to think about, is drainage and where you put your buildings at.
Water control is a huge part of these buildings. Agricultural buildings, especially my horse buildings, my riding arenas, that is almost the most important part of that project, is the grade and the water control. You know, and northeastern Ohio and Pennsylvania here, you're building an arena, you're building it because you want to spend some time inside in the winter. And right outside the pole barn is Pennsylvania or Ohio weather, and just inside is a nice fluffy ball mix that you want to ride on.
Yeah.
And if you spend money and you get the arena done, and it wicks all of that moisture from the ground right underneath the building, and you ride around the building in mud.
Yeah, you're wondering why it's muddy.
You could ride in mud and not build the building.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So water control is huge. You know, and you just want everything falling away from the building. I mean, I think a basic rule would be go out 10 feet away from the building, and there shouldn't be anything higher than that. Yeah, you know, go out 10 feet away, and it should be a couple inches higher in your building than it is out 10 feet from the building.
Now, this is a decent sized building. I mean, it's 46 by, what is it? 46 by 64. That roof, 1 inch of rain is about 1,800 gallons of water. Yes. That's how much it, and in this area, what do we get here in Pennsylvania? Who knows this year, but 45 inches of rain, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an incredible amount of water to deal with. That's just hitting the roof, not everything that's hitting the ground around it, which is why you want to make sure the grade is proper.
Yep. We just had a customer that was catching water for a cistern, and we jumped on and we were looking. There's a rain calculator online. Yeah. And their building was not very big. Yeah. And we looked at the annual rainfall in that area, and it was like, holy smokes! Like, we are never going to use the water on a year. You know, it does. It's
incredible.
It is a lot of water.
Yep. Well, all right. Well, I appreciate the information. Now, I think that's good information to get somebody started. There's a lot to think about, but once you guys get out here, we'll do a couple videos on the building being built, and we'll get moved in. I'll probably wait until spring to pour the floor in it. We're going to pour floor in this one, but we'll just have to see how it goes and all that. But we'll go from there. But I appreciate you coming out today, Dustin.
Thanks for having us.
Let me show you what we got here. This is the final design for the building that we're building out there. It's 46 feet wide, 64 feet long. From this post to this post is about 36 feet, which would be about 4 feet wider than my current pavilion. So the sawmill will sit right in here, and I got an extra 4 feet of wiggle room. But yeah, the sawmill right here, 14-foot ceilings. Now, this row of posts, like down through here, they're not even necessary for the structure itself, but I'm going to frame this wall in here. Get a better look. This will all be framed in here and here, And I can park equipment in here, like the excavator, the skid loader. I could probably fit the excavator, skid loader, split force, and the mini skid. I think we could park that all right in here. And I left some options open here in case, you know, I want to do like a bundle firewood bay right here or something like that. This is the far end here. We got a 16-foot wide opening here. Very seldom do we saw anything over 12 feet in length, so I'll be able to carry lumber in and out here. 412 pitch roof, have gutters, the big gutters, downspouts on all four corners, and all that rainwater will be collected to a cistern tank down off of this end here about 50, 60 feet away. And we might even be able to like wash equipment, water plants, the garden that we're planning on putting out there, fruit trees. But it's pretty basic. But, one big thing, 2-foot overhangs. And the reason we're going that big, I'll side this with white pine. And, you know, metal would be better. It would, to be honest. But I like the looks of the white pine. We'll stain it after it dries. But I just wanted a bigger overhang just to help, you know, it doesn't turn gray as quick, I think. I think that'll work out good. But, yeah, 46 by 64. The current pavilion down below is 32 by 48. So this is quite a bit bigger. Plus, we still have the pavilion down below that I can use for storage. Eventually, maybe we will close it all in and make a wood shop. I don't know. But right now, I know it'll keep my dump truck and like pickup and stuff out of the weather. But yeah, that's what they're going to build. 14-foot high ceilings in there. I like the tall ceilings. Gives you options for stacking lifts of lumber. You can reach in there at the excavator and you know, set a log right on the mill if I need to. This will be a little bit higher than the current pavilion that I have. So that's it. Pole barns direct. They'll be out here sometime this fall. Get this built, and we will be good to go. All right, so we signed a contract. I gave them a deposit, so the building is happening. It looks like right now, you know, when you sign that contract, you are the last person on the list to get a building, you know. And he's thinking it's going to be end of October, 1st of November, but he suggested, and I will do this, I'm going to go ahead and get the site all ready to go, and I will let them know that it's ready. And there's a good chance, I believe, that I'll get moved up the schedule, because you know how that goes. A lot of people are waiting on a contractor to do the dirt work, and things change, things get mixed up, and they may not be ready when they think they're going to be ready. And if I'm ready, I will get moved up the schedule. So that's the plan right now. I've got a lot of work to do out there. A few more trees to come out, but a bunch of dirt work to do to get ready. So I'm going to stay on it and get that done. Something I wanted to mention, Dustin had some good advice if you're considering building any type of building, whether it be a garage, a hobby barn, a workshop, a horse barn, anything like that. And he said the first step is to go to your local township and see what you're allowed to build. And he's right. I just hate hearing that. I do. I hate hearing that you have to ask permission on what you can or can't do with your own property. But it's the world we live in. But I will suggest this. I'll add to what he said. Go see the people. It's so much better than just picking up the phone and calling them. Because when you call, you're going to get whatever answer is in that book, you know. But if you go and meet with them and you're prepared a little bit, have some pictures, and, you know, because each property is different. A lot of these rules are made up for more congested areas, or, you know, when you have houses, one, you know, lined up, one right after another. And if you go talk to them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, you have a much better chance if you go see them than if you just pick up the phone. So That's my recommendation. Before I wrap this up, I wanted to show you something. I mentioned this about a month ago. It's this tiny little Phoenix E18R flashlight. I'm a sucker for good flashlights. I was at Bass Pro, and this was a spontaneous purchase. But this tiny little light that you can hide in your hand is 1200 lumens with 5 settings, and it's rechargeable, and it's a great little light. I don't know where it's made, and I've used it for about a month and a half. It's incredibly bright. For something this small, it's amazing. And I did find them on Amazon. So I get emails about these all the time just because I mentioned it. I think a lot of people like a good light. So far, this is a great little flashlight. But I'll put a link to this in the description and maybe pin a comment as well. But yeah, I'm a sucker for good flashlights. I talked about that before. Remember when we were young, you know, the technology on these things have come so far compared to what we used to think was a good light. But anyway, like I said, link in the description, pin comment. I think that's about it. I'm excited for that building. I am. I mentioned the other day, we got all the equipment now, you know, and I wanted to get away, not get away from bulk firewood, just kind of level off with the amount of volume that we were doing and focus more on smaller quantities. But since we got the firewood processor and the dump truck, it is just so easy to crank out firewood now. And so we're gonna ramp things up. So now it's all about the workflow. You know, we've got all the equipment, it's all in the layout, how you can get a truck in and out, load things, the tumbler, it's all the workflow now. And we will get all that worked out at the new wood yard. Down here, it's just too tight right now to work efficiently. But anyway, I think that's about it for today's video. I appreciate y'all being here, I really do. And I will catch you on the next one.